It's another day here at SDH AM. I'm almost getting the buttons all squared away. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by. It's Tuesday Thoughts. And this one will kind of go all over the place. We'll start our MLS previews coming up bottom of the hour. Laurel Pfahler from Queen City Press is going to drop by, and we get to talk to her about all the chaos. So she'll be here in about 25 minutes, and she will let us know about all the ins, the outs, the frustrations, everything in between. She's been on top of it, and it's great to have her on the morning show, and we can break down everything going on in Cincinnati. Obviously, we got to talk about what happened last night in Costa Rica. That's going to be the first half hour. We'll get through kickoff. We'll get through all the things and talk about the U.S. Youth National Team, the U17s, putting 22 on the board last night. We'll go through the match, and we'll spend some time in hour number one on that, maybe some drifting overtime in hour number two, depending on how much information we get out here in the first half hour. So we'll talk about what happened last night and the tournament and repercussions, mental or otherwise. We'll get into that and what you guys think about what happened with 22-0 last night involving the youth national team in the U17 tournament. Cooper Sanchez got the start last night for the U.S. men's national team. But the larger picture is going to be the discussion about the 22 goals that were put up, 10 by one individual, 14 in the first half. The U.S. set a lot of records last night in the U17 tournament for the CONCACAF qualifiers for the World Cup. So that's going to take up the first half hour. Laurel Pfahler will join us in the second half hour. Hour number two, we got CONCACAF to talk about. We got Champions League to talk about. We got all the things to talk about, all the news to get you ready for everything. The Rubiales trial has an update. And apparently, Mr. Rubiales was on the stand this morning and gave his testimony. So we'll get into that in hour number two. All the news that's fit to print, we'll get through that in hour number two and get you ready for your day. All right. Here's your housekeeping. Now, later today, it is the kickoff of the SDH high school schedule. We'll be at Decatur for North Atlanta at Decatur. For us, it's a bit of a primer for North Atlanta, considering that we will see North Atlanta again in the Creek Cup later this week. And that starts tomorrow, actually, at Northview with yours truly, with two matches at 6 and 8 in one of the brackets. So today, a little before 6 o'clock, North Atlanta, Decatur at Decatur. It's the girls' teams that will start things off. Jason will have that call for you. And then I will have the boys call at 8 o'clock. Remember, after we're done at soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, you can tune in to Atlanta Soccer Tonight with Jason on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. So here's your rundown for today. 6 o'clock, girls, North Atlanta, Decatur at Decatur on our Mixlr channel. 8 o'clock, the boys on our Mixlr channel. After that, go to 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Catch Jason for Atlanta Soccer Tonight and everything that's going to be going on in his mind on a Tuesday. Now, tomorrow, Creek Cup starts in earnest Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thanks to our friends at Johns Creek and thanks to our friends at Northview for being great partners with us so we can broadcast all of the matches in the tournament on our Mixlr channels, whether it's soccerdownhere.mixlr.com on SDH1 or SDH2. All the boys' matches in conflict, when things are going on at the same time, boys' matches will be on SDH1, girls' matches on SDH2. So Johns Creek will have, if things are going on at the same time, you'll have SDH1 will have the boys' matches from Johns Creek. Girls' matches from Northview will be on SDH2 if there's a conflict. Tomorrow, it is just the two matches, so those will be on SDH1. Then we start having things happening all at once, and that's when SDH1 and 2 get invited to the party, and that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And that's wall to wall. So just go to Mixlr.com. If you haven't downloaded the Mixlr app yet, download the Mixlr app. Go to Soccer Down Here, favorite star, put gold stars, notifications, however you want to do it, for SDH 1 and 2. So you know when we're broadcasting live matches, that's the beginning of it all again this year. It starts with our high school games, and it starts tonight. Creek Cup starts tomorrow. Tonight, North Atlanta and Decatur at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock. That is tonight. And then it is absolute chaos, and it's going to be a fun chaos for the high school season once again starting tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, The Atlanta United Journalistic Information Exchange and Opinion program continues. Tyler Pilgrim joining us at 9:15 from Scarves and Spikes. We'll find out about what's going on with them there, and then we'll get you ready for everything else. Remember, Atlanta United has their last road exhibition preseason match, and that one's going to be happening in the midweek, and then they fly back up here for the matchup against FC Dallas on Saturday. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground behind closed doors. atlutd.com/live for the midweek and the weekend. Then Thursday, this will be fun. Kevin Egan gets to kick things off for the first time here in 2025 here on the SDH Network. So Kevin Egan will be here at 9:15 on Thursday morning. And Kevin, I guess we almost turn the Thursday show into a power show, because Kevin Egan will be here at 9:15, and then you have the power hour from 10 to 11 with Nino and Nico. And I'm hoping that Gold TV rebroadcasts Braga and Gil Vicente, so we can grab that clip where I'm WhatsApping Nino, and we'll go behind the fourth wall on Thursday too. But we talk about SDH and talk about all the movies that he likes, and Invincible and Any Given Sunday, and all that came into the broadcast in the first and second half on the weekend with Braga and Gil Vicente. So Nino, Nico, Kevin Egan will lead things off on Thursday at 9:15, and then Friday we'll get you ready for the weekend. Creek Cup once again on the Mixler channels 1 and 2, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all across the network. So very, very busy times. Business, quoting old JR's, business about to pick up. And we're going to come down the ramp talking. That's the way it's going to be for us here in a little bit. So once again, about 20 minutes, Laurel Pfahler is going to join us from Queen City Press, talk about everything FC Cincinnati. Let's get you through all the promos. Once again, start your day. Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. But when you check out after you bought the store in its entirety, you get to save 15%. So you still get to walk away after buying the entire store at 15% off. Soccer Down Here, 15 at checkout. Get you everything at a 15% discount at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They in turn take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Grady Baby Co., the collaboration that we have with them here in 2025. The Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta. Oh my God, comfortable sweatshirt, amazing stuff that they do. And you can get the red or the black with the gold lettering. Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta. And that helps out. Those proceeds from that help out middle school soccer programs tied to Atlanta Public Schools. So you can help out there. Olive in New York, get the first ever Soccer Down Here jersey. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to Beyond Goals. Thanks to all of you guys as we continue our Soccer for Good campaign in 25. Proceeds going to things that we have earmarked in 2025. Olive in New York, you can get it personalized. I'm not really a personalized person guy. I will say this. The fashion plates that are Maddie Cruz, Greg Garza, and Sophia Cupertino getting out the SDH 247 if you look on Greg's Instagram. No brainer that we need to pick that up, and we got to give Greg full credit for that. So Sophia Cupertino, Maddie Cruz, Greg Garza on the Insta showcasing the 2, 4, and the 7. Our friends from Kaiser Permanente across the front. Can't do any of this without them. So you can go to Olive in York, get your Navy jersey, personalize it if you wish in either all white letters and numerals or the lighter blue letters and numerals. You can do that at Olive in York. So let's see, Olive in York, and you can also get all of the SDH geared soccerdownhere.net. You can get all the reading done. You can get all the articles that we have posted, all the pictures and photos and things and everything that we cover on a daily basis. Don't forget to subscribe to the Morning Espresso so you can be up to date from Jason in about 10 minutes or less. You can sign up there. You get that in your inbox, in your email. And also you can be a Fanatico. Go to Chant, download the app, and go into the SDH section. $10 a year. You can be an SDH Fanatico, and you get tied to discounts and things and relationships that we have that can hopefully benefit you in 2025, and you can continue to grow the game with your membership to being an SDH Fanatico through Chant and the Chant app available iOS and Android. Don't forget Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you can subscribe to Fanatis, and you'd use, go to fntz.co/soccer down here. You can become a true sicko. Look at all the BNs, which means you get League and everything going on in AFCON. You get CDO Nuestro Tele for the fans, say all the things in between, and all that. So you can enjoy the far reaches of the game, South America, Africa, all that. You can do that at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. Wow. Okay. Now, let's get into what happened last night. We'll start things off with some of the highlights, because if I played all of the highlights as they were cut by CONCACAF, it would be about 4 minutes. So here's half of the highlights almost. We got like through the first 40 minutes of action. So if you missed it, here's some of what happened last night, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and FS2, the U17 World Cup qualifiers through CONCACAF. The U.S. was pretty busy.
Who is number 2 in defense. There's the whistle in this competition. Already an early opportunity for Chase Adams, the square ball, and it's tapped in. Trying to cut this back in field. Great little slip ball. Get to the end line. The square ball, and there's the finish. U17 setup. As another cross comes in. It's Adams. He scores. Trying to keep this one on the deck. It stays alive. It's a 4th goal. Another cross coming in. That time it's saved. It's still alive. And the finish. Adams has himself a hat trick in less than invitation. Still coming. Carrizo scores. Another one, this time played back post. It's tapped in. VI back line. It's another chance, and it's another goal. Maximo Carrizo has a hat trick. Cowell with 1. He started the scoring. Maybe another chance for Cowell. Now Adams. Adams scores. Guimaraes, Terry gets end line, great skill, and it's in again. Adams has done it, 6 of 10. Oh, Cornelius put it in front, and it's finished again. Chase.
And like I said, that was a little bit of that was most of the first half. Most of the first half goals were there for the United States. By the time it was over, and for those that might remember when the United States, when Atlanta United went to go down and play Herediano in CONCACAF Champions League, when you landed at the airport and you were heading into downtown San Jose, you passed this large stadium in the northbound lanes of traffic. That's where the match was played last night, was at the National Stadium in San Jose. By the time it was over, it was 22-0. 22-0 was the final score. USA over the U.S. Virgin Islands, once again qualifying, going on right now for November's U17 World Cup in Qatar. Chase Adams scored 7 in the first half, 3 in the second half. He's a forward for Crew 2, 10 goals in 22 matches during the MLS Next Pro season last year. And as a freshman in 2022 in high school, 22-19 for Naperville Central in Illinois, coached by his father when they won the Illinois title in Class 3. They get St. Kitts and Nevis, meaning the United States, tomorrow, and Cuba on the 15th. The winner of the group, and there are 8 groups, the winner of each group gets into the expanded 48-team field for the U17 World Cup, as do the winners of the other groups. So once again, you win a group, you get into the U17 World Cup coming up in November. So goal scorers, 8 different goal scorers on the day. Chase Adams scored 10. Carrizo for NYC scored 4. Chance Cowell had 2. Jude Terry had 2. Pedro Guimaraes, who plays for Orange County in USL Championship, had 1, as did Ramiz Hamuda for Birmingham Legion, and 2 Philadelphia Union Academy players, Jameer Johnson and Kellen LeBlanc. So that was what happened last night. And the 22 goals that were scored were not wildly received in a positive light. You had some folks who were upset over the number of goals scored. You had some folks upset that because of a result like this, that you shouldn't have teams in tournaments in the first place. And this was one of the questions that I wanted to pose for all of you guys this morning as you're dropping in. I wanted to know what you thought of the U.S. putting 22 on the board. Legitimately, I wanted to know what you thought. I mean, I was watching the first 45 minutes, and it did turn into a painful watch. It was 14-0 at the half. Scored 14 in the first, 8 in the second. Finished up at 22. And the points that can be taken from this, how do you grow the game? And we saw this in the Women's World Cup as well. You had teams that were being roundly beaten in the tournament when the tournament expanded the first time, and you had qualifying elements that were there. Teams getting in for the first time, they were in groups. It was double-digit wins and double-digit goals for most of the teams against the minnows that were there. But, and I would probably pose this question for our Soccer for US POD folks. How do you propose the game grow? Morning, Abby. If you don't have moments like you had last night. And literally, there's a rundown of everything that happened last night, getting the release from the U.S. Soccer last night. It was largest ever victory, any men's or women's World Cup qualifier at any level. Previous largest margin for the U17s in qualifying was 8 against Guadeloupe at the 2019 U17 championship. Previous best result at men's World Cup qualifying was 13 for the U20s back in 2018. Previous best overall, 20 against Grenada in the 2022 CONCACAF Women's U17s. Previous individual game scoring mark at the U17 World Cup qualifying was 3, and that got blown out of the water. The 3 that had been scored several times over. Cruz Medina, Gio Reyna, Joe Gajardo, Josh Perez. First time that they had ever played the U.S. Virgin Islands at the U17 World Cup qualifying level. 28-3-7 against Caribbean nations. 8 players earned their first U17 caps in the game. Cooper Sanchez was one of those last night for Atlanta United, for the Atlanta United followers of the whole thing. So Cooper got his first cap last night, and according to Abby, looks like he passed it at about 86%. So right now, obviously, top of Group F, and you have a goal difference, obviously, of 22. Cuba and St. Kitts and Nevis, the 3-1 game. St. Kitts and Nevis actually had a lead at 1-0. Cuba would go and score 3 and go ahead and win that one 3-1. But this match was not the only match that had large margins attached to it. You had another couple of matchups last night in the U17s where there were large margins of victory. There absolutely were. And you've had a 7 so far. You've had a 6 so far. Canada won by 6 in their first match. Mexico won by 8 in their first match. Costa Rica won by 12 in their first match against St. Martin back on Sunday. Panama beat Grenada 8-0 yesterday, in addition to El Salvador beating the Cayman Islands 8-0. The U.S. once again put 22 on the board. And obviously, you see a number like what Costa Rica did on Sunday. You see a number like what the United States did on Monday night. And I know that you're going to have folks that are going to, and they did on social media. They said that this was bad for the sport when you have a U17 qualifying match where you're representing your country and you end up at 14+8 and winning 22-0. What I would hope is that after the match, the U.S. team, and in whatever form it was, whether if it was Coach Sagarish or what have you, would go to the teams that have the margins of victory go against them, and just sit and talk for a while. It is all about learning. It's all about growing the game. You just don't want you don't want players to become disheartened in a situation like this. So I would just hope that, you sit there, you have a good heart-to-heart with the coach. Hey, is there anything you need? We want to make you better. We want to make the game better. Is there anything that you need? Call me anytime. Just enjoy this experience for what it is, because at the end of the day, you're talking about 17-year-old kids. And that's the biggest thing here for me in all of this, is at the end of the day, they're 17-year-old kids. Don't smash the kids in this situation. Everyone is there to learn. When you expand a field, more teams are going to be available, and moments like this will happen. Like I said, had one involving Costa Rica, had one involving the United States. I'm sure that these will not be the only two that will have double-digit margins as we go here into the qualifying. You've got 8 more matches today that are a part of it. You can catch them on VIX and FS2 and all those other places and things like that. But the biggest thing today, once again, look at the scoreline, understand what the scoreline was. U.S. wins at the end of the day, but you want to try and help grow the game going forward. Give everybody from the Virgin Islands phone numbers, take pictures, have good heart-to-heart talks over something like this. That, to me, is just as key as anything else. You're going to have moments like this when you expand fields. Bottom line, you're going to have moments like this. You have players scoring 10 goals and things like that in matches. And it took me a bit of a double take. It really did. When I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the box score, and as much as I'm watching the match, and then at the end of it all, you're going, Chase Adams had himself a night. Even had an assist on the first goal with Chance Cowell. So what I want in this, once again, Lorenzo Cornelius had a handful of assists. Pedro Guimaraes had a couple of assists to go with his goal. I want the game to grow. It can't grow without expanding fields. And you just take the moment from yesterday and you go from there. So that's where we are involving the U.S. women's national team. I mean, the U.S. U17. So the U.S. U17s yesterday, we'll keep an eye on all of that, and we'll see what's going on. Now, it is time. Officially batting leadoff in our MLS 2025 previews, Laurel Pfahler. And we've had Laurel on before. So Laurel, I think, officially qualifies as friend of the network, friend of the morning show. And we get to find out about everything going on in Cincinnati, because there's a lot going on in Cincinnati. Trust me, there's a lot going on. Laurel is very, very busy. And because of this, we were scheduled to have her at 9:30. Laurel's already dialed up and ready to go. She's gassed up. She's ready to go. So we're going to bring Laurel in a whole minute and a half early. My levels of patience, I've got to get through it. It's like I'm ready to go. So you come in a minute and a half early. I'm bringing you in at 9:28, Laurel. Welcome back.
Happy to be a friend of the show. And yeah, I always try to hop on early just in case. So I try to be prepared, and I apologize. I'm like in my basement hiding from my daughter who's homesick today. So
no, I mean, that's all good, because I knew that when we tried to schedule you here on the morning show, I know that you are juggling mom duties in addition to FC Cincinnati duties. And that's something that it's like, I was trying to remember. It's like, okay, so if she's doing mom things, is she a 9 o'clock hour or a 10 o'clock hour? So literally I was trying to figure out what's going on, but hiding in the acoustically sound studio there at the Laurel Pfahler Studios. I want to ask it this way, and I can't really think of any other way, frankly, to ask what's going on in Cincinnati. But what is going on in Cincinnati with this offseason, Laurel?
oh man, it feels like a mess. I mean, I don't want to, that sounds horrible, but I mean, just it looks like a train wreck from afar, I'm sure, and it feels just like a ball of stress here. So it just seems like there's something new every day. It's like, when is this going to end? When can we just play games and talk about games? So looking forward to about the what is it? The 19th. So 8 days away.
I know.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. I can't count the days down to their CONCACAF Champions Cup opener fast enough. So
I mean, I have to look at computers and phones to figure out what day it is myself. When you look back at 24, I want to go back to 24 and build to 25 and get everybody up to date on all the chaos. When you look back at 24, how would you assess how FC Cincinnati was in 2024 in Major League Soccer?
I would say 2024 was pretty disappointing, just considering they came off a Supporters Shield win in 2023. And, the going into the season, you just kind of wondered because there was a lot of roster turnover. I think they only brought back like 5 starters from that Supporters Shield squad. And some of that was because they sold Brandon Vasquez to Monterrey. Alvaro Barrial wanted to move on, so they loaned him out to Cruzeiro. And then, like Yerson Mosquera, he was a very talented center back that was on loan from Wolverhampton. He had to go back. So, there were some pieces they couldn't have retained. And then it just ended up being some, I thought the changes, like they brought in some good players. It seemed like it all kind of came together last minute, which it always feels like. All these deals get done like right at the end of preseason or even going into the start of the season. They ended up bringing in DeAndre Yedlin. I think it was in early March. Maybe it was sooner than that. But so it just felt like they were going into a season with a lot of questions. And then, they actually did pretty well. The defense really carried them for the first half of the season. Lucho Acosta was on fire. He was his normal, just magical self. And then, he got injured. Matt Miazga, Nick Hagland, like the injuries started piling up, and they didn't have the same lineup, and they didn't play a repeat lineup until the very last 2 games was the only time that they had consistency in the lineup. So they still made the playoffs, but a first round playoff exit was not what was expected.
And coming into this season, I want to see if I've got everybody who is currently discontented correct. Orejano, Kubo, Lucho. Am I missing anybody?
Those are the ones we know of, so you never know. But those are the ones. There were 3 players. Those 3 reported late for preseason, and we kind of had an idea that Lucho. I don't think it was a surprise that he came late, because right after their playoff exit, he told us, I think I might have played my last game for FC Cincinnati. He was kind of vague at the time. He did have a really rough year with, in the summer, he ended up having some foot injuries. He was dealing with some personal family matters, and he told us, like, it was a challenging year for me mentally and physically, and I've got to take some time to think about it. And he was kind of just vague about what he was really thinking about, and then went on an ESPN Argentina interview like a few days later and said, yeah, I want to leave. I want to go back to Argentina if I can. Somebody asked him directly about Boca, because he came up through Boca Juniors. That's his boyhood club. And whenever he's asked about Boca, he's always gonna say, yeah, I would love to go back. So you never know what to make of those comments, but it seemed like that was kind of his goal, to go back home with this, with his family situation. And then, it's turned out now that he reported 12 days late, and then, wasn't in training with the group for a while, and ended up releasing a statement to me that he wanted to share with the fans why he was possibly looking to leave now. And comes down to just he and the GM are not seeing eye to eye on things. And he basically feels like it's a untenable situation for him right now.
And going into a season, obviously that ain't good. And you have the picture that sticks in my mind is Lucho with his new best buddies, the treadmills. And they seem to have been in timeout, at least in the short term. Yep. Where do things stand with him? Are they still looking on transfer? What is your Lucho Acosta latest when it comes to his status there in Cincinnati?
I would say it's very much in flux, because they did, FC Cincinnati did have an agreement with Estudiantes de La Plata in Argentina. They had agreed on a transfer fee, but then it was going to come down to the contract and it seemed a little questionable in the beginning because you look at the highest paid player there and they're making about $1 million, slightly over $1 million, and Lucho makes 4.4 million. And so it seemed like that was going to be a wide gap to close, but that deal kind of fell through. He never actually ended up getting a formal contract offer, is my understanding. And so now it looks like the team is looking to possibly trade him within the league. So I think the goal is, if they're going to trade him in league, send him to the Western Conference, because they don't want to see Lucho, twice a year. So FC Dallas and San Jose are apparently the ones that have kind of expressed the most interest. And we'll see where it goes, because he does have, and this is something I just reported last night, he does have a no trade clause. So he actually has to agree on the move. So he's going to think about his family. He's going to, think about what's best for his career. FC Dallas, kind of a different situation. Seems like they're kind of rebooting, whereas San Jose, like, I know they've got a new coach, but they've had a really impressive offseason. That could be an exciting opportunity for him. But yeah, I would say it's very much up in the air right now. He just started in group training on Sunday with FC Cincinnati, so it's like they're kind of realizing, well, we gotta get him ready to go in case he's here, and probably in case a team isn't going to want to take a player that's not ready. If they're going to say he's not fit, that probably doesn't go over too well for a new team. So he's in the group, and kind of just wait and see right now.
Yeah, I know Bruce Arena in San Jose would sit there and not be happy if someone is not 90 minutes ready the second he walks in the door. I mean, the level of patience in Bruce Arena, that's not something that necessarily fits together rather flush. And then you have Yakubo, who was late, or Jano, who wants out. Am I still reading those two sets of tea leaves correct when it comes to Yakubo and Luca Orellana?
Yeah, Luca, basically, he says he was promised a raise. Basically, he came here on loan last year from Vasco da Gama. He hadn't been playing at all with Vasco da Gama. So the contract agreement, there was a purchase option. So at that time, he's also agreeing on a contract for the future if that purchase option goes through. And at that time, it was based on him not really playing at Vasco da Gama. So he ended up being an MLS All-Star. They've talked about him being an integral piece of the attack going forward. And so in his words, he's waiting for what was promised of him. So he did play in their preseason game Friday. He had told me he didn't play in the first two. He was dealing with a couple little bumps and bruises, but he said it was more that he is trying to wait for a resolution on his contract. I don't know how much of a raise he's trying to get or thought he was getting. I think he's maybe getting a little better advice that, hey, you got to at least, be preparing and show that if you're going to ask for a raise, you got to show, you've got to earn it to some extent. Maybe he did last year, but I know when FC Cincinnati does their contracts, they often do provide incentives for the following year. So my guess is that they could at least, they do have a salary cap. They have to manage a cap. So it's not like, yeah, we can give you all this money. But, maybe it's possible that they can convince them that 2026 he'll be compensated, and then we'll see from there. But then Kubo, that's the one I think that's the most surprising, just because he is this player that has done everything that FC Cincinnati has asked of him. He came in as a second striker when Ron Jans was the coach in 2020. And then ended up playing more of a defensive midfield role, and then some a little attacking midfield. And then last year they needed him back at forward, and he was one of their top goal scorers. He's played wing back. He's done everything, and just very disciplined, and not a guy you would expect to just not show up. And he hasn't come out and said exactly why. It does seem like it's something to do with, because he did take a significant salary cut last year. So he did sign this new contract. That's, I think, what's surprising is if it's just contract related. Well, he just signed that deal. So I don't know if he signed the contract expecting to have a lesser role and then ended up having his best year, and that's kind of, maybe he's asking for a bonus or something like that. But just a lot of drama, I guess.
Yes, it is. these are the days of our lives currently in Cincinnati. Laurel Pfahler hanging out with us here, Queen City Press. Full disclosure, I subscribe, and this is how I keep up to date with everything going on, with everything that Laurel is having to report on a daily basis, with the Palace intrigue and the soap opera and everything that is FC Cincinnati heading into 25. I thought, and when Lucho came out with his new buddies, the Treadmills, and came out with the statement to you, I thought it was interesting that he basically said in his conversation that it was with the front office and with Chris Albright specifically, it was along the lines of the two gunslingers in the old Western movie. You know, the town ain't big enough for the two of us.
Yeah.
And so right now, do you have a gauge of the overall thoughts about the front office and how they're handling things? Because if Lucho is saying this and the team comes back with a response to you, when you have all of these big name players that have this discontent, it's like once is an event, I think two is a trend or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but what is the overall thoughts, whether it's fans interacting or from what you've been able to report, what are the thoughts about the front office and how they're conducting business over the last couple of seasons?
I think that you do have to question, if it was one or two players. I think Kubo being upset is makes you wonder, is there really something behind the scenes that, is going on? I think part of the problem is really just that players don't understand the salary cap. I also think they saw that the club, and sorry if I'm going on a tangent here, but they saw that the club spent a record $16.2 million to bring in forward Kevin Denke this offseason. Mm-hmm. And they hear how ambitious this club is and how willing they are to spend money. They don't realize that that's a transfer fee. That's not Kevin Denke's salary. So the club can't just say, yeah, we can pay these guys whatever we want. I think that is really a big part of it. But, Lucho in his statement mentioned Chris not answering his text messages. I kind of question how much is a player really needing to interact with the GM on a regular basis. So, I don't know behind the scenes. Maybe Chris is a little more involved with the players than maybe some other GMs, and maybe there's some butting heads there. I think you just have to kind of wonder, but Chris Albright is in charge of the roster. He has to deal with a salary cap. So, I think there's a lot of fans just seeing that and not understanding or questioning well, you can't just pay these guys whatever. They signed these contracts. So I think the fans are kind of all over the place on, wondering why there's three. We've never had this situation where three guys reported late. So maybe there's some wonder of what's going on behind the scenes, but then also just thinking that these guys are asking for money that isn't there for them to take. So
Laurel Pfahler, Queen City Press, hanging out with us here as we start our previews of the 2025 season. We figured we'd just go straight to the chaos, and that's why we call Laurel and bring her into the discussion. When it comes to these three players, Kubo, Orejano, Lucho, what does your gut tell you about where those three will be come opening day in 11 days' time and 8 days' time for FC Cincinnati and the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza?
Well, Yuya Kubo jumped right at, he arrived, he was the last one to arrive. He came 3 weeks late and jumped right into the first preseason game that he was available to play. So I think maybe there's something to how he's handled it. He, hasn't made a big scene about it. You would think he would be further behind than the others because he came so late and he'd be the last one to kind of get into the preseason games. But I think he's just, I guess he's taking it like a pro now. And I don't think that's going to be an issue from what that's my gut, I guess, just based on him jumping right in. And then Luka, I just think, I was told that the club is trying to figure out if they can, increase his salary, or they are working with him. They're trying to figure out a solution there. So, and he's playing now. So I think he'll be in the lineup, but Lucho's the one, that you just don't know. Cause it does feel like the club at this point really wants to move him on and move on to, there's reports of interest in Evander and, not, a total like for like player, but he would basically be Lucho's replacement. So it kind of depends on if they can. My understanding is that they would need to move Lucho to bring Evander in. They would have a third DP spot to bring Evander in if they could figure that out, but I don't know as far as all the if they would still be cap compliant at that point or not.
That's the fun part. The cap compliancy. I want my math. That's all I want. I want to know what my cap is. I want to know what folks can be paid. But that is another that would be a tangent for me here on the morning show, just to kind of sit there and go, hey, let's go talk about this and the things that we need to follow the game that much more. Coming into 25, 8 days time before everything starts happening in CONCACAF. For someone who has not seen FCC in 25, you mentioned Kevin Denke as a part of the process and adding to the offense. What would be things that the big storylines for you for FC Cincinnati coming into 25, other than the chaos on the Days of Our Lives stuff and the Young and the Wrestle stuff that we've been talking about for the last 10 months?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a shame that there has been so much attention on the guys that aren't on the field, or like they do also have a lot of injuries right now. So that's been something I've had to keep asking about. And Pat Noonan, I think, is just ready to talk about the guys on the field. And it is a little disappointing that there's not more hype around Kevin Denke, just with, the investment the club put in him. He was a top 5 goal scorer in Europe over the last 2 seasons with Cercle Brugge in Belgium, was the Golden Boot winner there in 23-24. So it's, that's one thing to watch is really, he came here because he really saw how FC Cincinnati was great at creating chances. Like that's one thing that when I interviewed him last month, man, it's February now.
It all runs together.
I spoke with him like mid-January, I guess. And he said he really was excited about coming to a team that creates a lot of chances. And he saw that last year they really just didn't have a finisher. I mean, Lucho created and finished a lot of opportunities himself. And then Luca and Kubo had 10 goals each. But as far as the chance creation, he didn't feel like he had that on his past teams. And so to be able to play with a guy like Lucho Acosta was pretty exciting to him. And then, of course, he hasn't had that opportunity, 8 days going before their first game. They haven't even, played. They've gotten probably 2 or 3 training sessions together. So that's one thing to watch, just how they're able to, what are they going to be able to get out of Kevin Denke if he doesn't have Lucho Acosta, or who is creating for him. Obviously he can create for himself, but that was something, like I said, he was excited to not have to do all the time. And then the defense, that was something that started off really well last year. And then Matt Miazga, who was the 2023 MLS Defender of the Year, went down with season-ending injury in mid-June. So he's still coming back from that. I'm not sure if he's back in full team training yet, something that I've been asking every week. And, it seems like they keep thinking he's getting closer. And so I haven't seen any updates on him being in with the full group. And so that's kind of a concern, is just what is the defense going to look like if he's not on the field yet. Teenage Hadebi is another center back that they brought in last August, maybe it was early September, whatever, before the roster freeze date. He came in as a free agent addition, and he has been dealing with a hamstring injury. So right now they have Miles Robinson, and then they brought in a U22 center back that I don't know if he's here yet, Gilberto Flores, but he seems like he's supposed to be more of a depth piece that they develop. So the defense could be really good with Miles and Matt and Teenage. Like that could be a really good group. But right now you just kind of wonder how it's going to look starting out, because those pieces are really in flux right now.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. One more question before, actually 2. I fib. 2 more questions. Where do you see them fitting in standings wise in the Eastern Conference? I know they have their expectations. You have your analysis and your thought patterns. Where do you see FC Cincinnati right now in the East in 25? Are they top 4? Are they top 2? What do you think? With the games only being played on paper, where do you see FC Cincinnati in 2025?
I just think that they're going to end up with a slow start, but I still see them maybe finishing around 5th in the Eastern Conference. Maybe they make some big moves in the summer. Maybe they figure things out with Lucho and either get an MLS best 11 performance out of him again, or they've replaced him and are moving on, and maybe that goes how they plan. I don't know, but I just feel like there's so much uncertainty. I can't really put them any higher than 5th, and I feel like Pat Noonan is a good enough coach that he's managed a lot of adversity in the past and still gotten a lot out of his group. So I do think that maybe 5th is at least reasonable, but yeah, I feel like there's too much uncertainty going in right now to put them any higher.
All right. So my last question for you, and like I said, I'm full disclosure, I subscribe because we all need our information sources, and for you and what you're doing up there in Cincinnati, it's vital to folks that want to know about what's going on across the landscape in Major League Soccer. What has it been like for you, and what is it like for you to be the head of the table when it comes to Queen City Press? What's it been like for you to build this on your own and put in all of the hours in the day? I know it's a 30-hour a day, 8-day a week, 375 days a year kind of a thing. What's it been like for you to assemble Queen City Press and get it to where it has been since you started it?
Thank you. I appreciate you recognizing that, but it's been a challenge. Like, it's been a lot of fun. I really like having the flexibility to kind of work on features that I want to do and kind of be my own boss. I also cover the Cincinnati Bengals for a local newspaper here, the Dayton Daily News. So I am balancing time, but it works out really well because FC Cincinnati trains in the morning and Bengals stuff is always in the afternoon when there is that overlap. So it works out. But when I'm covering the Bengals, I'm kind of just one of a whole slew of reporters that are out there. It's just a lot of media attention on the NFL. And then you go to FC Cincinnati and really MLS, there's just not a lot of local media covering the league. And so I feel like that's kind of disappointing for the fans to not have more information about their teams. And so that's something I really take pride in, is really trying to give the fans more information on the team. I want them to be able to get to know the players through, which I really enjoy writing the in-depth features. I'll tell you, that's my favorite part, just getting to know the players and showing a different side of them that maybe the fans don't see just from watching them on the field. So I that's what I take the most pride in, I guess, is just being able to be I guess I'm sort of, I try to really pay attention to what the fans are asking on social media too, like the questions they have. And I try to, not that that's where I get all my questions from, but I try to gauge what the interest level is in certain things and just what they're wondering about and what they need more education on. And so to be able to do that is something I really enjoy. And there's only really the Cincinnati Enquirer covers the team regularly, and then this club reporter Carter Chapley, he's going to do his thing, but and then there's some great fan blogs and podcasts that cover the team, but they're not out there regularly. So it's been fun just to try to be a regular contributor to the coverage.
QueenCityPress.net. That's what Laurel does on a daily basis and beyond a daily basis, juggling all of the chainsaws that she does, being a mom, doing this, launching this, all the things. Laurel, as always, it's great to see you. Thanks for dropping by the morning show. Hopefully, maybe just some Zycam and some Vicks. Maybe we'll help things out with the boss there inside the house. But don't be a stranger. Drop by anytime. You've got the invite. You know where the studio is. Just come on in and crash. And on a Friday, you got 5 minutes. Come in and sit there, do a quick preview, and get out the door. You're always welcome. Great to see you, my friend, and we will catch up with you soon.
Thank you so much, and good luck with all your coverage. You do a great job.
Thanks. That's Laurel Pfahler, everybody. And so Laurel is now going to attend to her daughter, who is sick. So this is the dedication that Laurel had. Literally, her daughter was sick. So she goes and hides in the basement of Laurel Pfahler Estates. And then she then she answers all of our questions, specifically about all the chaos with the young and the restless there in Cincinnati with Acosta, Kubo, Orellano, trades, maybe trades. Estudiantes, and the thing about Estudiantes, keep an eye on Foster Gillette. Just, it's the way that he and his clubs try to get players, try to throw money at problems, those kinds of things. So any time that Foster Gillette's name pops up in storylines, go ahead and read about it. But Estudiantes, sometimes, or the Gillette property, sometimes they will make big promises, and then nothing ends up happening, and you see how things go. But keep an eye on Foster Gillette when it comes to him and his storylines and players and player interest and things like that. So when Estudiantes came to the table and it was like, oh, okay, then just that's your Google search for today, Foster Gillette and ownership. So keep an eye on the financials and situations like that. But as it looks like with Lucho Acosta, I don't think he's hanging out with his new friends, the Treadmills, which sounds like a bit of a rock group. Lucho and the Treadmills. It sounds like something from the 80s that you would see maybe at the Sunset Beach Club just off the UC campus. For full disclosure, went to the Sunset Beach Club when I was on a road trip covering Metro 7 conference basketball. It shows you how long ago this was. And we go to the Sunset Beach Club. There was a band there called the Modulators. Don't ask me how I remember this, but apparently the Modulators were really the thing in the 80s and 90s in Cincinnati, and they were at the Sunset Beach Club. They were a great jam band, but having a nightclub, or whatever you want to call it, gathering hall in Cincinnati called the Sunset Beach Club, right off the UC campus. Sunset Beach Club in Cincinnati, that made a whole lot of sense, and that was why we were drawn into that building. And, yeah, so the Modulators, great concert in the late 80s. Don't know what happened to the band, but Sunset Beach Club just off the campus of UC. And so all the storylines, all the things, Laurel does a great job. And if you feel compelled, then go ahead and subscribe to what she does up there at Queen City Press in Cincinnati. It's going to be an interesting year for FC Cincinnati for the reasons that we wanted to get into with her this morning specifically, and dealing with all of the drama with Lucho, all of the intrigue with Yuya Kubo, everything that was going on with Luca Orellano. And when you have all of these players this season, plus players in the past that wanted out, that was why I was asking about what the perception was about the front office and Chris Albright. Town ain't big enough for the two of us. And you have something like that in a statement come to Laurel, you have to ask about it. I don't know if Lucho stays because, once again, according to Laurel and Tom Bogert, FC Cincinnati are dealing with Dallas and San Jose. Serious talks, nothing agreed with either club yet. So Cincinnati is looking at Evander, but they need to get Lucho squared away first. And is San Jose going to spend the money? Bruce Arena is going to go to John Fisher and go, yo, bro, we need him. Will John Fisher continue to work his economics and see what he can do, balancing that in the team in Sacramento, the baseball team, and figure out what San Jose is going to look like? Because Bruce Arena is banging on his door, absolutely banging on his door, and wanting to make sure that he's interested. FC Dallas needs a scorer. Considering what they lost in Ferreira, they need a scorer. Dallas makes a lot of sense. San Jose is trying to add to their firepower. So who's going to step up first? Will FC Dallas be that, knowing that they need a scorer? Maybe overpaying a little bit, who knows? But keep an eye on those two teams in the Western Conference. And Laurel Pfahler, once again, queencitypress.net. Subscribe if you feel so inclined to keep up with everything going on in Cincinnati. So Laurel said that she was looking at top 5 just because of everything going on and early starts and all these kinds of things. So that will be the intriguing part involving FC Cincinnati and where they are, because once again, 8 days away from CONCACAF, and they dial it up. So they got to balance CONCACAF with all of the players coming in late. Do you end up making a deal where you don't have Lucho? Can you bring in Evander in time? All of the things in the next 8 days, if not the next 11 days, if we were talking about Major League Soccer's beginning of the regular season. So once again, great to have Laurel drop by, and hopefully her daughter is just, hopefully just give her daughter some Zicam and keep an eye on her and just make sure that she's okay. But Laurel definitely gets big bonus points for dropping into the basement of the Casa de Pfahler and letting us know everything that's going on involving FC Cincinnati. So that's hour number one. Time to say hi to everybody and let everybody know what's going on in their planets. Morning, Alex. Morning, Will. And Will's asking about the kit for Atlanta United. I don't get why the kit hasn't been released given the season starts in 11 days. Seems like such a missed opportunity. I know that there have only been a couple of teams that have done it. And it could come down to readiness and preparedness involving the kit itself, manufacturers waiting for the right moment, those kinds of things. And so every team is different. I mean, Miami released their Euphoria kit, EUFORIA. And that is out there. I will ask you this. I mean, they released the kit, but how much buzz was there? So that for me is one of the questions. Yeah, you obviously want to win the press release. Messi and friends put out the Euphoria kit. I have seen no buzz whatsoever. So it's all about looking at the right opportunity, I think. So I'm looking forward to it because I want to see what it looks like. And then you get the gear that's attached and all that kind of stuff. So morning, Emilio, and Emilio and Will going back and forth with all of their things. Morning, Abby. Abby went and watched the U17s last night, turned it on a few minutes in. It was already 4-0. Yeah, it was. Rundown. Where's the rundown of the scoring? First 4 goals. Yeah, 9th minute. Chase Adams had the 4th goal in the 9th minute. 2, 5, 8, 9, 13, 15, 19. Then they couldn't get one another until the 28th. 28, 31, 33, 38, 40, 41, 43. So you had 7 goals in 15 minutes to finish the first half to get you to 14. Second half, 51, 52, 55. So you had 3 in 4 minutes. 67, 75, 77, 79. 3 more in 4 minutes. And then Kellen LeBlanc from Guimaraes in the 86th. So that's how you got to 22. And 53, and I did not look at the stats summary until just now. 53 shots for the United States against the U.S. Virgin Islands last night. 30 shots on goal. 8 saves for the keeper. 12 corners for the U.S., 14 fouls, 8 for the U.S., 6 for the Virgin Islands, and 3 offside. And you had a crew with Jose Valadares from Honduras as your ref, Jorge Limas from Guatemala, Nicaragua's Alfredo Chavez were your ARs, Christopher Mason from Jamaica was your 4th. But 53 shots, 30 shots on target, 8 saves, 22 went in the back of the net for the United States at the Estadio Nacional in San Jose, Costa Rica. So once again, when we get to the end of the day, we'll let you know what's going on. Usually VIX and FS2 will be the ones that you'll be able to watch the tournament on, if not Fox Soccer Plus. So you have 8 matches today. You have some of the big guns that are involved. Mexico is playing at 4 o'clock. Canada's playing at 7 o'clock. Haiti's playing at 5 o'clock. Costa Rica's playing at 8 o'clock. And Guatemala is playing at 8 o'clock. So very, very busy times. Matches start at 1 o'clock this afternoon when it comes to the U17. So, 22 on the board for the United States last night in the U17s. And morning, Ricky. And Ricky says it feels like, involving Lucho, like the end of Carmelo Anthony in New York before he went to Oklahoma City. What would be the equivalent if Lucho leaves? Lucho leaves Cincinnati. If Cincinnati or the New York Knicks in this equation goes to OKC, is that Dallas? I guess that would be Dallas in this case. Morning, Harry. And we're trying to have a great day in SDH Nation. But remember, we are all meteorologically challenged, especially those of us north of the Mason-Dixon line, where they're going to get popped by, I think, 2 storms in a row. Weather Channel's on the Big 55, so I can keep an eye on everything there. It is rainy. It is nasty today. And apparently it's going to be that way for like the next 3 days, which doesn't serve well for transporting equipment from cars to press boxes. But so we'll see. But yeah, just everybody take care of yourselves. Give a little extra space when it comes to driving and hydroplaning and all that kind of stuff. It's cold. It's nasty. It's just blech in general. So everybody just be careful. It's another added reason to be careful in all this. Ricky with the equivalency. Thank you. Because I'm not much of an NBA guy. But he goes, the equivalent is San Jose. The equivalent would be San Jose and not Dallas. Chicho and Joseph, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George. Okay. So, yes. Okay, I will take your word for it. Abby, I think, is out the door. Bunch of things to go before a 7:30 Zoom. Yes, stay safe, everybody. So Abby's out the door. She can listen on tape a little later on. Spreaker is where we're based, but on all your favorite podcatchers, set your notifications. You can listen to this show. You can listen to everything on the SDH Network. Reminder once again, tonight, 6 and 8, North Atlanta at Decatur. Jason's going to be calling the girls' match at 6. I'll call the boys' match at 8. It'll be on our Mixler site, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And that will be our season opener for everything high school soccer. A lot of friends that are helping us out with that. Our friends at Kaiser Permanente, obviously. Our friends at Oglethorpe University are a part of it as well. I think they are our player of the game for the 2025 season. They get to have the attachment to the player of the game this season. Thanks to them for being a part of it as well, and all the sponsors that are tied to everything with SDH. But our high school schedule starts tonight. And I was trying to do the math, or at least just the geography of it all. So we have high school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And once again, there will be a time where we will have things going on simultaneously. So both SDH 1 and 2 will be up and running on the Mixler site. Then we get a day off of not doing any high school action. It's Sunday. Then we're back at it. We're in 2 places at once on Tuesday next week. It is McIntosh and Dalton, a big early game in the regular season. It is a winter break, so we are incredibly fortunate in that we will have 2 games on the network, but they won't be simultaneous. McIntosh and Dalton decided to schedule a non-region boys match during winter break, 3 o'clock in the afternoon down at McIntosh. Jason will have the call for that one. And I will be up at Appalachia for the boys match with Seconder and Appalachia that night. So it'll be a day-night doubleheader on the Mixler site next Tuesday. And then we have plans for travel to Jeff Davis, for Appling and Jeff Davis in March. Later this month, we're going to be going to Lincolnton to see what's going on at Lincoln County with Thompson and Lincoln County in a big rivalry game. I think it's the last week of the month. Johnson, Gainesville, and Dalton. That's going to be on the 21st. So we'll be in Dalton on the 21st. The season opener for Atlanta United on the 22nd. I'll be driving back from Dalton the morning of. I'm sure that Jason and Maddie will be driving back Friday night. But 21st, Johnson, Gainesville, and Dalton. Big game at Chapel Field. Then it'll be the season opener for Atlanta United and everybody that will be involved there. And then on the 24th, Thompson at Lincoln County and Lincolnton. So we'll be all over the place and heading to the Pinelands and Hazelhurst. And I think we've got Perry as a hopeful on the schedule as we keep an eye on things. But really looking forward to the high school schedule, and that kicks off in earnest today, 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock at Decatur, North Atlanta, and Decatur. Okay, let's get into the news and everything that's going on. And obviously, we're going to have to talk about the Rubiales trial. There's some stuff that came out of that this morning that we've got to get into. There's some other news involving the FA Cup that we can get into. We have our 5th round matchups. The 5th round fixtures have been published this morning. You had your draw, Chloe Kelly news there. and looking at grids and what to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo here in hour number 2. So playoff round is going on today in Champions League. And so everyone is going to sit there and go, all right, so we need predictions. And once again, whatever else is on your mind here on Tuesday Thoughts, go ahead and lay it into the timeline, and we'll discuss it there too. So we got to get into juice boxes and get you ready for what's going on involving Champions League. It's the knockouts. And so it's the first round of the knockouts. It's not the knockouts. This is where 1 through 8 get to sit and watch everybody else. 9 through 24 chasing after each other today and tomorrow. You got 4 today, you have 4 tomorrow. Today, it is PSG, big favorite on the road at Brest. I'm sure that Micah Richards and everybody on the desk at CBS is going to have a field day. Brest, by the way, at home is a plus 822 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Juve favored at home against PSV. Ricardo Pepi out for the year. PSV is a plus 290 on the road at Juve. Juve is a minus 105. Manchester City actually favored. I know that Ricky likes to kind of keep an ear out for the juice boxes. Manchester City is a slight minus at home. Manchester City, Real Madrid, 3 o'clock. Brest and PSG, by the way, is at 12:45. The other 3 are at 3 o'clock. Manchester City, Real Madrid. Manchester City is a minus 101. So they are favored and just on the minus side. Your 90-minute draw, plus 297. Real Madrid on the road is a plus 246. Sporting and Dortmund, we can talk about Sporting and Dortmund with our buddy Nino Torres on Thursday. Sporting, plus 129. Favored at home against Dortmund. Dortmund is a plus 215. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 241. So, Ricky, believing that Man City and Real Madrid is going to have a lot of goals scored because the defenses are both in question. You know, we know about Real Madrid's offense. We know what Manchester City can do on offense. We'll get into what the coaches think coming up in a bit, especially Pep Guardiola. So Ricky says it's going to be 4-3. For the record, it's in the Twitch pitch, but I'll go ahead and flash it. So Ricky says 4-3. Now, as we sit here and apply juice boxes to these situations, let's take a peek and find out what the juice boxes say about totals. And so if Ricky thinks it's going to be a 4-3, I think the over is probably a good play here. We just have to figure out the right place. So the over-under, once again in the composite, we'll see where it switches from a positive to a negative, 3.5. So Ricky thinks it's going to be bananas offensively. The juice boxers think that at plus 3.5, the over is a plus 110. So if that gets to 2-2, anybody that is looking like Ricky, they're going to sit there and go, yeah, I'll lay that out there. So 3.5 is a plus 110. 4.5 is a plus 241. So 3-2. So if we're walking this forward, if it's a 3-2 match, then Ricky goes 4.5, the over at 4.5. That's a plus 241. Once again, you put in 100 to get 241. That's why to get the extra 141 on the deal. So 4.5 plus 241. 5.5. So if Ricky thinks that this is going to be 3-3, but you see what I've put on the board. He thinks it's going to finish 4-3. 4.5 is a plus 241. 5.5, if it's 3-3, plus 500. 6.5, if Ricky gets his wish. If it's 4-3, Ricky gets his wish. 6.5 is a plus 1066. Let's go through those again. 3.5 a plus 110, 2-2. 4.5 a plus 241, 3-2. 5.5 a plus 500, 3-3. 6.5. Ricky gets his 4-3 plus 1066. So Ricky doing a lot of the juice box work for us here. Says since 2020, 3 goals, 2-1, 2-1, 4-3, 3-1, 1-1, 4-0, 3-3, and a 1-1 in PK, and then PKs. So you see where the juice boxers are going in this one. And Ricky says, but those games had some kind of defenders. Madrid putting out Castilla players on the back line. So with the salt of the earth players playing a defense for both, man, you see how much Rodri's missed. You really do. 2-1, so 3-3, 7, 4, 2, 4, 6, 2. That's since 2020. 3-3. No, this is the number of total goals. 3-3, 7, 4, 2, 4, 6, 2. And then it went to PKs. So that's what you're staring at of the last 5 years worth of matchups with defense that's there. So that's what you're staring at. Nico Gonzalez, Ederson, Nathan Ake, Doku have all trained this week. Rodri is the only confirmed absentee. Was named in the club's Champions League squad for the second half of the year. Folks might be thinking he might be coming back sooner rather than later. Real Madrid has a front three: Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and Mbappe. 59 goals this year. Pep Guardiola said containing the Real attack for the whole tie will be impossible. As Ricky said, the issue for Carlo Ancelotti is at the back. Here's what you have. Here's what you don't have. Or here's what you have that you don't have. No Rudiger, no Eder Militao, no Alaba, no Carvajal, no Vasquez. So that means that you probably are going to have Tchouaméni and Asensio as your center backs and Valverde at right back. So that's what you're staring at involving those two clubs. I think Ricky is square. I think Ricky's bang on to take the over. But this game has all sorts of stark raving bananas that could be attached to it. Game of the day without question. You like car crashes or train wrecks? Now, I think I'm leaning into what Ricky is thinking here. I'm thinking that Real's offense being as scary as ish. And then Manchester, literally, this could be 90 minutes. This could be a tennis match for 90 minutes. Back and forth the entire time. I mean, screw it. Pull the governor out of the golf cart and go. Just run. It's like McAvoy on 18 and 10 Cup. Keep hitting at the water. Romeo, give me a ball. Just keep going. Sooner or later, you're going to hit it. You're going to hit the green and it's going to stick. Just go. So that game has chaos written all over it for 90 minutes. I think Ricky is square to take the over. And once again, the number flips from a minus to a plus at 3.5. So if you can get an over at 3.5, it's a plus 141, and I'm sure that'll change. But game of the day right now is that one. That one. Underline, exclamate, italicized, boldface print. Manchester City and Real Madrid. So you can be anywhere close to anything resembling an object that puts out a video signal. Then that's what you're staring at. A couple of transactions and things that we'll be getting into as we go this morning. There are some player news and things like that in Major League Soccer that we'll get into on the other side of all this. The other matchups themselves that are out there, mentioning Brest and PSG, and it's going to be in Guignon. So Brest's home ground did not meet UEFA requirements. So so Brest is doing it on the road. Won their last two, beat Troyes in the Coupe de France, not in Ligue 1. They've lost back-to-back home matches, most recent against PSG, 5-2 win at the start of the month. Eric Waugh does not have Laco and Amavi. Jonas Martin expected to miss out. Del Castillo has a knee problem. Fevre and Balde will be on the right. PSG, once again, has depth all over the place. Ousmane Dembele, that's the spot shadow in the open for the TV side of things. Keep an eye on Dembele. Scored twice against Monaco on the weekend, 13 goals in 2025. He's already met his total from 2024. So you got that. Juve, PSV. Juve beat Empoli and Como to continue to chase the top four in Serie A. Randall Colomowani, 5 goals in 3 matches so far. Dusan Vlahovic is the only one who has scored more when he scored 8. Colomowani, Kelly, Vega added to the Champions League squad. Cambiasso, doubtful. Bremer, Cabal, Kalulu all missed the meeting with PSV. For PSV, no Richie Ledesma, no Oscar Boscali, Malik Tillman, Pepe also sidelined. We mentioned Pepe's gone for the year. Peter Bosch can call on Perisic. Couldn't use him in the league phase, but he can use him now. Turo Malacia may be at left back as Doms has gone to Al Ahly. Sporting and Dortmund. Shocking no one and stuff that we've talked about on Thursdays here. Here's your headline, or first sentence. Sporting have struggled since Ruben Amorim's departure. Yeah, no kidding. Top of the Primera, but they drew Porto this past weekend in a battle of the heavyweights, 1-1. Leads now 4 points. Inconsistent under Rui Borges. They've only won 2 of their last 5, period. Remember, Borges replaced the first replacement for Ruben Amorim after like a couple of weeks. It's like, no, this ain't working. This ain't working, boss. And so they brought in Borges. No Hjulmand. He missed the Dortmund match because of a band. João Simões was forced off on the weekend. So it could be a different setup in the middle of the field for Sporting. 3 more injuries on the board, but you do get Victor Gyökeres back. Dortmund beaten by Stuttgart at the weekend. 11th in the Bundesliga. They've won as many as they've lost so far this year. Schlotterbeck is back. Chukwuemeka is injured, not ready to debut. No Nemeka, no Sula, and so no Nemeka, no Sula, no Chukwuemeka. Dortmund, by the way, have lost 9 of their last 13. 9 of their last 13. And 2 of their 5 away wins, though, have come in Champions League. So you have those 4 matchups today, but a lot of angst involving those 4 matchups. Other pieces of news: Sam Kerr was found not guilty of racially aggravated harassment of a police officer. That came down about 9:30 this morning. So that trial has reached its conclusion. And since we are in lawyering down here, we have our update on the Rubiales trial. Reuters and Stephen Burgeon. So Rubiales is in front of microphones. Rubiales has told the court that he is in this case, that he asked Jenny Hermoso if he could kiss her before doing so. Rubiales told the court in Madrid, I'm absolutely sure, quote, I'm absolutely sure that she gave me her permission in that moment. It was something completely spontaneous, end quote. Rubiales once again accused of sexual assault, then attempting to coerce Hermoso with the help of 3 other former Football Federation officials into publicly saying that the kiss on the lips at the award ceremony in Australia had been consensual. He's denied the charges, saying the kiss was consensual. Hermoso has said it was not. In court today, Rubiales said he made an error of judgment. Quote, it's obvious now that I made a mistake. It was spontaneous. I behaved like a sports person, like I was one more member of the team. I should have been more cold-blooded and adopted a more institutional role, end quote. And this is day 6 of the trial, by the way. Began with evidence from David Murillo, who has been deaf since birth and was presented by the defense as an expert lip reader. In the pretrial, Rubiales claimed he asked Hermoso if he could give her a piquito, Based on video evidence, Murillo said that the accused asked for a besito, a peck versus a little kiss. Same meaning, but a different word, a distinction Rubiales dismissed as irrelevant. Murillo then added that as Hermoso's back was to the camera, he couldn't confirm whether she gave her consent. And we know that we have the video and we have the stills. Rubiales denied trying to coerce Hermoso into making a statement minimizing the incident, saying that given the media attention the kiss had attracted, he suggested they calm things down by making a joint statement, but Hermoso refused to comply. Court also heard a recording of an interview Hermoso gave to a Spanish journalist immediately after her team's victory, in which she dismisses the kiss as an anecdote in the context of the euphoria of becoming world champs. However, on the trial's opening day, according to The Guardian, the footballer told the court that one of the happiest moments of her life had been ruined by this kiss and its aftermath. If convicted, Rubiales, who resigned as the Federation president a month after the incident happened, could face 2.5 years in prison, 1 year for sexual assault over the kiss, another 18 months for allegedly coercing Hermoso to downplay what happened. The trial continues tomorrow. Testimony of the former head of the coach of the women's national team, Jorge Vilda, former Spanish Football Federation sporting director Albert Luque, and the Federation's former marketing chief, Ruben Rivera, for their suspected roles in putting pressure on Hermoso. All three deny the charges against them. So that is Reuters and The Guardian, the update in that case. We mentioned fifth round. We mentioned Manchester City, so we'll go ahead and mention the fifth round of the FA Cup. That is out there already. And it is Preston and Burnley, and these will be played between February 28th and March 3. Preston North End and Burnley, two teams in the championship. Villa and Cardiff. Crystal Palace and Millwall. Blank you, I'm Millwall. They'll go wandering around with the Nolu t-shirts. No one likes us. There's a reason why. Manchester United takes on Fulham. Newcastle gets Brighton. Bournemouth and Wolves. Manchester City, Plymouth Argyle. And Exeter or Nottingham Forest up against Ipswich. So that is your rundown of the fifth round draw of the FA Cup, the round of 16. Exeter or Nottingham Forest going up against Ipswich. So that is the one that is still to be decided. By the way, that is today at 3 o'clock. Nottingham Forest, understandably so, a large favorite at a minus 244. Exeter is almost a plus 600 to win. 90-minute draws a plus 395. So that is where that is where the elements stand involving the FA Cup. One more match to be played. Tuesday night football. Winner gets Ipswich in the round of 16. So that's where that stands in particular involving FA Cup matchups. So that, in fact, does exist. And by the way, there's one team in the Scottish Cup in the quarterfinal draw, Queen's Park. They get to play Aberdeen, but that's because Queen's Park beat Rangers. Queen's Park beat Rangers on the weekend, so they had the draw, and so everybody is now laughing at Rangers in Scotland. Livingston, St. Johnstone, Celtic, and Hibs, Aberdeen, Queen's Park, Hearts, and Dundee. So that's your four. That's your round of 8 in the FA Cup. So Plymouth Argyle, after knocking off Liverpool, where, the FA Cup folks said, well, Liverpool and Manchester City, I think that ought to be pretty cool. But not. You end up with Plymouth Argyle going to the Etihad to take on Manchester City. And that'll be the new round of the FA Cup draw. Other things, there's other news and things that's going on, and we'll go through all of that. And we do have another round of stupidity down here. And Jessica Charman's ears are probably burning because Jonathan Liu walked through in an op-ed this morning, walked through the Reading situation and how just awful it is for the fans having to deal with the current owner, and the current owner, De Jong, having all of the financial obligations that he has that he's not meeting, and how the consortiums that De Jong has his money tied to could basically take the stadium if Young sells the club. So it's like 3 different levels of ish that Jess and her fellow Reading fans have to put up with. But yeah, Jonathan Liu had an op-ed in the Guardian about the whole thing, and so it is intertwined, and it is a mess and a half, and that's what Jess has to deal with. So that might be your required reading for the day involving what's going on, involving stuff in and around the planet. All right, we got a couple of rounds of stupidity down here. And yeah, it's pretty stupid. So we're going to go through it. And once again, we're going to discuss all the stupidity, get into it, and let everybody know what's going on as it continues, as you have people who continue to be stupid. And we do have a something of a request from a player in particular. And Alex knows this particular player. So we do have a couple of rounds of stupidity down here, but let me start with the player and his thoughts on the deal. Joe Willock demands that social media tackles lowlifes, that's his word, over racist posts. He was subjected to online abuse after the loss to Fulham. The police were called in by the club after the player's family was threatened. So that's what Joe Willock is requesting at the moment, understandably so. And I know that a lot of times the proverbial wheels of justice do not go as quickly as they should, or we believe that they should. Willock has called on those in charge of social media companies to clamp down on the lowlifes, in quotation marks, who subjected him to racist online abuse. He hit back after his club called in the police over discriminatory posts aimed at him and his family in the wake of the loss to Fulham on February 1st. Told the Newcastle Chronicle this: "It has happened to me many times. It was the severity of it. That's why I had to put it out there. If you're not only coming for my race, but threatening my family, wishing bad things on them, that's when I have to put it out there and report it. You can actually endanger someone if you have that hatred. I had to do it." Willock praised his club's strong response to the incident and the support that they have provided since. He said, "From the club's side, they gave me everything. They tried to sort it out as soon as possible, but it's bigger than that. It has to be clamped down upon from the social media side, from the higher people in social media companies." That is, in fact, he is not wrong in this case. Absolutely not wrong. You have to have those in power. And that's the other thing. They've got to want to do it. And it can't be just lip service of, yeah, we'll get to it. So Joe Willock is calling for social media companies to hop to, basically, and get it done. Basically, get it done, bruh. I don't share, sadly, his optimism. I'd love to see it. But I think, far too many times we see, when anyone goes to the police in incidents like these, it takes a while. And I've always maintained here that when you have this kind of stupidity, find the appropriate charge or charges, max it out, make sure that those individuals have nothing to do with the sport whatsoever. Because frankly, the sport doesn't need that kind of support. I'm mad, therefore I'm going to say something, with my Twitter muscles or my social media muscles, whatever social media you use. And then you want to sit there and you want to say something and you hide behind it with a name and a bunch of numbers. And then you have those individuals who even are, if you want to use the word social media brave, using their own handle or a handle that can be traced to an individual easier than just being the nebulous letters and numbers that take up 16, different spaces on a handle. Actually, people want to sit there. Yeah, and they are, Derek. They are. They're absolutely small. So I continue, and I continue to bring these elements to the fore because I think it's important to be reminded on a daily basis. I wish it wasn't a daily basis, but when these events happen, I will say that we don't cover stupidity down here on a daily basis. But when stupidity down here happens, that we put the event out there and continue to be examples of folks that enjoy a sport, that love their team, love their players, and not be pithy online and not be someone that wants to sit there and rant and rave, and especially calling out a family. What do they have to do with anything? As the old saying was in the 20th century, what does that have to do with the price of eggs? What does that have to do with the price of eggs? Why does anyone, and Derek, this goes back to the small people element, and and I admit that this trail is a little rhetorical, but why is it that when you're mad at an athlete, you want to go after the family? What does the family have to do with anything? You just going up the ladder to sit there and make a comment and go, yeah, well, I'm mad at the player, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to lump the family into the discussion, and it's their fault too, and they're a bunch of blankety blanks, and I'm mad and rawr. If you're mad at a player, I get it. That you have fandom and you have ties and you have the fan-based expectation of success. I get that. But the whole notion of chasing after family members, that's what gets me. Why do you feel compelled to go after family members? What does a mom or a dad or a baby brother, baby sister, cousin, whatever, grandma, grandpa, pick your family member? What does that have to do with anything? Lumping them all into one pile, saying that for whatever reason, they are, no bigger than the curb that they walk on when they're, getting their 4 miles in on the weekend. I mean, I would love it if someone would do a psychological study on, okay, you're mad, you get mad at the player, I get it. But the rationale of going after the family in addition to going after the player, why are you going that extra step? If the player did something wrong, then the whole family's wrong? And I apologize for kind of getting on a high horse this morning, but when you see something like what Joe Willock says, I mean, and using the word lowlifes, and they are, when you have people that are saying these things online, hiding behind identities in social media. How many times, if we presented Joe, if we find out in a world of words, in a world of worlds, if I could get my upper plate to work, in a world of worlds, if we got any of these folks that are tied to stupidity down here, the racial abuse that we had involving Venetius, where the guy was supposed to write a letter of apology. No, that don't work. That don't work for me. If you are going to hide behind your social media muscles and then you get found out, you have to go to the player's practice facility, stadium, whatever, And you have to confront the player head on. The player gets to see who it is. In addition to hopefully the legal system taking care of the appropriate penalties. As I've always maintained, though, the one penalty in all of this that is the least enforceable is the ban. Ban them from games for life. That's what I want. In situations like this, look, you're going to be this kind of a fan, don't need you. Ban you from social media, but then you can come on with an alias and you can say the same things all over again. 2025 rules with a Z, Magpies 2025 rules, RULZ. That's your new handle or whatever. But in these cases, in addition to the legal system doing what it's supposed to do, what I would love for those moments, and I'm not going to say confrontation because that puts a negative spin on the whole thing. That puts a negative light in it. What I would love in these situations is if the individual's found out. You go to the home stadium of the athlete. You have everybody around who wants to cover it, social media, all the media and everything. Hey, player X gets to meet his online bully, which is what it is. Cyberbullying charges, I don't know what they are in Europe, but I mean, that's what it is. So player meets cyberbully. You have that interaction. Like I said, I wasn't going to say confrontation because I don't want a confrontation out of it. I want the individual who was charged in the case that we have put forth here in SDH AM court. Have them meet at the home stadium. If the player wants to bring his family, that'd be great. If the accuser wants to bring his family, that'd be great. But what I would want to know is when the player gets to meet the bully, I want the bully to say publicly why he felt the way that he felt. We always play the Roy Kent speech we play it at least once a year. When in Ted Lasso, when McAdoo snapped, we play that speech for a reason. Just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean that you can say whatever you want to say. I would love for the interaction to happen in the legal system. Player gets to meet accuser, and I want the accuser to come clean. And if the cameras all have to go away and turn it off, and it's just the families, both the families standing in a parking lot outside, in this case, St. James, then let it happen. Find out why this individual felt compelled to say X, Y, and Z about a player. Do it in a public forum. You got found out. Guess what? I need to know why. Just because I sucked in any given day? Is that the why? Have that interaction and make it public. Cyberbully says X about player Y. That's why he did it. Then you can sit there and look at the cyberbully for who that individual is. The cyberbully hopefully can look at the family and find out what the family's all about that you're yelling at, because obviously it's their fault that the player that you're chasing after on social media had a bad game or is a bad player in your mind. Give me that interaction in the bull ring. Make it an Oklahoma drill or something. Just have that interaction between bully and player after all of that stuff has happened, so we can find out the why. But like I also said, I'd love for there to be some kind of a psychological study as to why sports cyberbullies in this particular case say what they say and say it to the depth that they say it. But Derek, to your point, yes, they are small people. But I want to get to the heart of the matter and sit there and say that this cyberbully did this, and this is why, and this is why this is wrong. You can only do so much to the legal system. Throw the book at them. Make it the largest legal book you can find, and maybe it's the full Funkin' Wagnall's encyclopedia. Just throw the whole thing at them. Cyberbullying and whatever appropriate charges there are. Ban them from games for life. Because you never know who you impact when you say things in the public forum. It could be, conversation like we have on a daily basis. Could be on social media like we, do sometimes. I'm not all that great on social media. I'm a serial retweeter. I really don't have a lot to say. I see people. I have interactions. I have communication. I have direct communication with people. But in these cases of social media and bullying, I want the individual doing the bullying to see the people that they're impacting. And I'm hoping that in cases like this, if they're made public, when they should be, that it rubs off on anybody else who may want to sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to say something bad. Well, maybe I'll do a second thought about it because of what happened in the legal system, because of the interaction with the athlete themselves. I mean, literally, you're there. This is who you're impacting. Player points to family or whomever, opens up his wallet, shows photographs. We have a lot of folks who like to hide through what they say. And then when they're confronted about it, they either dissolve the account, start a new one, and try to do the social media hit and run with all of the different handles and things that you want to do. But I think there should be an interaction between the individual who is the cyberbully and the athlete, just so they know what's going on. Like I said, that's just me. That is one man's thought about something that should never be happening. But folks hide behind their social media accounts and sit there and think that they can say things and there's no repercussion or consequence. I'm hoping we're getting to the point when we have moments like what Joe Willock is talking about in handling the lowlives. Just do something like that. You never know when you put something out there on social media, you never know who you're going to touch. You never know who you're going to impact. You never know what the impact is going to be. And I mean that positively and negatively. I always try to be as supportive as humanly possible on social media when I see something from someone that deserves, the support for doing something well, for having a good day, for doing something nice. That's the direction I go. What compels the anger toward a player, I understand. But going that extra step and doing the family bit, I don't get the depth of that idea. I really don't. And it's disappointing that you feel like, yeah, I'm better than that person. So, I'm mad at you and I'm mad at your family. And when you think about it, think about that for a second. I'm mad at you and I'm mad at your family because you're a bad footballer. What? Quoting Herm Edwards, don't press send. The other round of stupidity down here that I wanted to get into, it was another one that kind of makes you just grab your temples and massage them. Donna Ferguson at The Guardian had this. Headline: Essex police officer sacked after admitting tragedy chanting at Anfield. Alex says he studied this in great detail, and his final verdict is people are dumb. And that's true. I will grant you that. And dumb people are the dumbest. That is absolutely true. But sadly, we will have dumb people, and they are the dumbest. They don't think. Don't press send. We mentioned being mad at a player and being mad at a family. The other thing that we get into occasionally and this is, the undersell of the lifetime, the subheading of the article. Misconduct hearing found that the individual, who we'll talk about in a second, had breached the standards of professional behavior over the offense. Yeah, I would think that a police officer shouldn't have tragedy chanting when he's a civilian, I guess. That shouldn't be a part of your standards of professional behavior. Essex police investigated misconduct proceedings against a sergeant after he pleaded guilty to the public order offense during the Liverpool-Chelsea match last October. So that's not too bad. September, October, so 4 months, 3 months, 3.5. Ordered to pay £645 in fines and costs in December. A whole $645. Woo. That'll learn you. The sergeant had been witnessed by stewards chanting towards Liverpool fans. He was ejected and arrested. Misconduct panel chaired by the police chief constable found that his officer had breached standards of professional behavior in relations to honesty and integrity, authority, respect, and courtesy, and discreditable conduct. Dismissed from the police force without notice, placed on the College of Policing barred list. Officer was being dismissed as a result of a moment's serious stupidity. Yeah. But that this was the only appropriate outcome. It is clear that the chief constable said it's clear the ex-sergeant was remorseful, may not have been aware of the impact of his words. Oh, no, I think you are. But he has been criminally convicted of a public order offense. Actions will seriously undermine public trust and confidence, and I must send a clear message to officers, staff, and the wider public that behavior such as this cannot and will not be tolerated in policing. If officers are responsible for upholding the law, it cannot be right that they break it, end quote. Yes, double duh. Chelsea wrote in a fan information and chant warning, believes that hateful chanting has no place in football. Arsenal welcomed 3-year banning orders handed down to 3 Arsenal fans who pleaded guilty to tragedy-related abuse during an FA Cup match against Liverpool at the Emirates. So you had a police officer who decided it would be an appropriate thing to sit there and tragedy chant at a rival's fan group. You're like, what are you doing? And I love the quote from the chief constable at the beginning of it all. Cleary was remorseful and may not have been aware of the impact of his words. Quoting Sherman T. Potter from MASH, horse hockey. No, in these situations, you're aware of what you're saying. You go to the least common denominator of an idea, much like the lowlifes that Joe Willick had to talk about and wants to have called out in this particular case. Full disclosure, I have contributed in the past to the Hillsborough Family Support Group. I have the scarf right there. What compels an individual to bring up something that was tragic to a fan base and think that that is something to cheer about? First off, it makes me think that you're some of the most immature individuals on the planet as an adult. And at that match, just in that match in particular, who do you think you're rubbing off on? How many younger people would be hearing this kind of thing? How many younger folks would sit there and look up to whomever is a part of the tragedy chanting, outside of the police officer, include him if you want, ex-police officer? How many folks do you rub off on? And it's a larger picture. How many folks in your daily interactions do you rub off on? This ex-police officer thought it was a great idea to sit there and say and tragedy chant. I imagine, you know, considering the event, I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea. I think we can pretty much figure out what the event was. But how many young adults, how many kids were in that section and hearing what the adults were saying? And this is the other concern that I have. Whether you're in the building, you're at home, you're whatever. If you're angry fan guy or girl or whomever, if you're just angry fan, let's put it that way. If you're angry fan and you're in season and you lose, who is around you when you talk? And if you are saying dumb things as a dumb person, and dumb people being some of the dumbest, as Alex has so eloquently put out there, I worry about who they rub off on and the impacts that they have on those subsequent generations of fans. That young fan sees the adults sit there and tragedy chant. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that's acceptable. Yeah, that's fun. Now let's make fun of our rival by talking about an event that affected a fan base because those fans are no longer with us. And somebody thinks that's a great idea. Once again, those fans ought to get kicked out of events. Block kicking out. I'm fine with that. Do the facial ident, find the fan, find the seat, find whatever, charge them what they need to be charged, boot them out. No place for them in the game. But I worry about who they impact. Every single day we're out there. We're out there in the world. Whether we're at a sporting event or not. And who do we impact every single day? Who do we rub off on with our demeanor, our appearance, our emotions? You have police officers, now ex-police officers, that decide it's okay to tragedy chant. Who is in that guy's orbit? Who does he rub off on a daily basis? Who did he rub off on that game day? Where folks are sitting there going, yeah, that was cool. I saw their reaction. They got mad. It ain't cool. But that's the thing that gets me in all of this. Whether we're talking about trials, stupidity down here, and ex-police officers. And I'm sorry that I went down this road in this tangent this morning. It's just that there seemed to have been more stupidity down here than normal. And I kind of got on a high horse, and I apologize for that. But we never know who we're going to rub off on. We never do. It could be the smallest interaction of the day. You could make that person's day if you want. You just never know. And anybody that decides to be who they are through social media, who they are through daily interaction, be better. We're all here to be the best person that we can be on a daily basis, whether it's tied to sports or not. We rub off on folks we don't suspect. And when you have stupidity like this in these microcosms that we're talking about today, you never know who you're going to rub off on. So just keep an eye out for all that stuff. Like I said, that was an escalator I didn't know I was going down. But thanks for putting up with dumb people are dumb, as Alex so eloquently put it. Dumb people are in fact very, very dumb. So, I had a lot of legal stuff here in hour number 2, and Pep Guardiola says it's going to be impossible to chase after the attack at Real Madrid, and so let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, and all that kind of stuff for today. And like I said, tonight 6 and 8 on soccerdownhere.mixler.com on our Mixler channel. It is North Atlanta and Decatur. We start our high school coverage in earnest today. Tomorrow we start the Creek Cup up at Johns Creek in Northview. And then that goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And high school season started in earnest last night. Our coverage starts tonight. So it'll be great to see everybody out at Decatur for North Atlanta and Decatur. Okay, gossip on the day. Manchester United ready to submit a 40 million euro bid for Barcelona's left back Alejandro Balda in the summer. Newcastle planning a 40 million euro bid for Johan Bakayoko from PSV Eindhoven. Newcastle also set to beat Barca and Real Madrid to the free transfer signing of 18-year-old Spanish winger Antonio Cordero, whose Malaga contract expires this summer. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United, Chelsea, both interested in Ipswich's Liam Delap. I'm sure that if Ipswich gets relegated, the interest will increase. Chelsea also keen on Copenhagen's 19-year-old Swedish winger Rooney Bargi. Fiorentina considering an offer for Moise Kean and offering him a new contract containing an increased release clause following Premier League interest in the striker, including from Spurs and Arsenal. That's from Corriere dello Sport. Chelsea monitoring Sporting's 19-year-old midfielder Dario Esugo, who's on loan at Las Palmas. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Bournemouth's 19-year-old Spanish defender Dean Huijsen is also interested. Chelsea's also interested in Dean Huijsen. Carlo Ancelotti has been told he must decide before May if he wants to become the head coach of Brazil. Arsenal expect to sign Espanyol's 23-year-old Spanish keeper Joan Garcia this summer. Manchester United want Athletic Bilbao sporting director Mikel Gonzalez to replace Dan Ashworth at Old Trafford. So that is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo on the day. There are a couple of other teams. Remember, the window now open for Major League Soccer where you're kicking the tires on folks. Tommy Scoops is saying that Philadelphia are in advanced talks to sign Uruguayan youth international forward Bruno Damiani from Nacional, 12 plus 5 in just under 2,000 minutes last year with Boston River. Danny Solana was the first to break that news. Nashville finalizing a deal to sign Swedish youth international winger Ahmed Kassem from Elfsborg. U22 initiative 5 plus 4 in 1,800 minutes in league play last year. Sources have told Bogert that LAFC have rejected opening bids from Gremio for Kike Oliveira. Talks are ongoing, but he remains with LAFC for the preseason. Internationally, stuff from our buddy Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs says, let's see. Dragusin has undergone surgery on his ACL. A picture was posted to social media. Todd Bowley has agreed to buy, for cricket, just under 50% of the 100 franchise Trent Rockets, paying just under £40 million. And we mentioned the draw that came out. Blackburn confirmed in the lower divisions that John Eustace has been given permission to talk to Derby County, and they are extremely disappointed by his request. So then FC Kairat confirmed that a 16-year-old striker is going to join Chelsea in the summer of 26. So that's your international stuff for the morning. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We mentioned what's going on involving the U17s. And we've got Champions League today. We've got U17s on today. Here's your rundown. Copa Libertadores and Howard Hamilton, our friend at Soccer Metrics, has posted his Copa Libertadores preview on the audio side of things. So you can listen to that as you prep for the Copa tonight. Defensor and Monagas is on at 7:30 on BN. U17 qualifiers, Mexico plays at 4 o'clock on FS2. They take on Belize. CONCACAF Champions Cup tonight, 8 and 10. The second legs of Monterrey and Forge and Cruz Azul and Real Estelí. BN and Espanyol simulcasting in Copa Libertadores. Champions League is on 2 to NA. They have Brest and PSG at 12:45. Manchester City, Real Madrid at 3. CONCACAF Champions Cup at 8 and 10. Unimas is simulcasting those activities. Exeter, Nottingham Forest on the FA Cup is on ESPN Plus at 3 o'clock. Fox Soccer Plus has 3 other matches on the CONCACAF men's qualifiers at 1, 5, and 7. Canada is the match at 7 o'clock. For Paramount Plus, action in the championship. Watford leads Norwich City and Preston North End as folks are trying to push their way into the promotion playoff. And then the 4 matches in the Champions League, obviously on Paramount Plus as well. VIX has all 4 of the Paramount Plus, the Champions League matches, and the 2 matches in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. So that is what is going on. Once again, like I said, we had a lot of stupidity down here, and just got a burr under my saddle. You couldn't tell, huh? That was hour number 2. So tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim joining us at 9:15. And we will go through anything and everything there. Kevin Egan joining us on Thursday, along with Nino and Nico, to get you ready for Friday. And we'll also have a chance to discuss what happened later in the week with Atlanta United with their last game at IMG Academy, atlutd.com/live. That is tomorrow, I believe. Let me check the time on it before we get out of here. And then you can keep an eye on Atlanta United. We'll talk about that as well. As a part of everything that is preseason. And let's see. So schedule. I want to get the time right when it comes to Atlanta United. So preseason schedule, the last match on the board against FC Cincinnati, by the way, is closed door and TBD time. So keep an eye on your notifications for atlutd.com/live. My guess is it'll be either late morning or early afternoon, so the team can get out of Central Florida and head up to Atlanta and get ready for the matchup on the weekend with FC Dallas. So that is another day of SDH live soccer tonight on the Mixler channel with the high school activity North Atlanta and with Decatur at Decatur High School. It'll be great to see everybody out there. And once again, since we are past the 2-hour mark, that means that we're coming back in a little less than 22 hours for Wall Pass Wednesday with Tyler Pilgrim and getting you ready for everything else that happened in Champions League tonight, CONCACAF tonight, on a bunch of different levels, the 8 matches of the U17s going on as well. So thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us, as we always do here at SDH. I'm just John. And since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this. Back at it again at 9:05 Eastern tomorrow morning. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We'll see you.